So
Yeah,
I have some questions.
sure.
What why most of artists believe they can do character, but actually they want to do.
Yeah, well, it's a very deep question. Unfortunately, I'm the kind of person who always goes all the way to the bottom of things. The reason why people don't uh, don't make characters or whatever they want to make, and they well, the reason is partially, well, I would say a lot of this has to do with the kind of personality they think they are. It's this self-doubt. People don't believe in their potential. They don't believe that they can achieve something. It's laziness is too cheap an explanation. People can do something because they feel lazy, because they're this and that. The problem is way deeper than that. I think it has to do with the identity, with what people think they are. They believe that they cannot do something, they cannot achieve something. It's a position that they unfortunately chose in their life, and this position was developed somehow. Maybe there was some kind of situation that simply created this scenario, and people tend to believe that it was the defining moment. This is defining character of this. This is what they're going to be for the rest of their lives, which is not true, by the way. Just something, a little pro tip of somebody who's been dealing with that for many years. We choose what we are. It's a choice. It's fundamentally it's a choice. So the way I see this, why people can't create something, is because they develop this identity of themselves, of somebody who cannot develop something, of somebody who cannot create something. It has all kinds of benefits. It allows you to be in this familiar situation where you know who you are, you know that you're not the person who makes things done, you know that you're not going to complete something. You feel very good in your suffering, you feel very good with your insecurities, because it's all familiar. It's the situation where the person thinks that this is all they are. And so a person who does something to completion, it's a completely different person. It's somebody who they are not used to. It's somebody completely new. It's a different identity altogether. So this fear, I think, is what's stopping people to be who they can really be. Like, I mean, in terms of potential, everybody can be just tremendously strong, just tremendously skillful and talented. It's all of this is inside of us, but we cling to what we think we are. We cling to believing that this is what we are and we cannot be anything else. This little portion of what we know about ourselves, we think that this is what we all are, instead of just thinking, okay, there's actually a huge deal of other things that we can develop and what we can create that is not familiar to us, but we don't look at those things. So I would say that the reason why people don't really achieve things in life, they don't create characters, they don't complete them, it's not because they're lazy or because they're afraid there's going to be so much work. It's just because it's easier not to make them to go to the completion. It's easier to be the kind of person who doesn't make things done, because it's just comfort. It's who they think they are. It's familiar. It's comfort. It's really perverted kind of comfort. But I believe that's exactly what's driving people in this kind of situation. So I would just if you cannot complete something, I wouldn't give any simple recommendations like just don't be lazy, because well, everybody knows that it's not a good thing to be lazy. That it has to be something that you tell yourself. You simply choose to be the other person. You choose the kind of person that you want to be, and you say to yourself, okay, like I'm going to actually finish something. I'm going to be that kind of person now, and then you start doing things. That's the biggest motivation, I guess. That's the answer to the question why you want to achieve something in the first place. Why do you want to complete this character? What will it do for you? So when you answer that, you have your motivation, you have your drive to be there. You just kind of, you strive away, you go away from the person that you start to dislike this personality, and you go towards something that you want to be. So that's just the perfect pull. It's something that is pushing you from behind and something that is pulling you from the front. So it's a good place to be. But I would say, it's something that we choose ourselves. If we don't achieve something, it's because we choose not to achieve something. To me, it's fundamentally that. Perhaps not the kind of answer you were looking for.
No. So,
Yeah.
I have another question.
Sure.
Is software really matters to learn 3D? Because mostly young artists ask which software they should be learn, but they don't worry about the art actually. They worry about the what they should learn in software.
Yeah, that connects directly to what I've just said. We as artists, we definitely need to learn the right software. It's something that I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, is that since this is something geared towards a industry, it means that there's going to be tools that the industry is require from you. So some kind of skills, some kind of software is definitely a requirement. So we shouldn't be naive about it, thinking that everything can be everything is kind of the same. Every tool is the same. They're familiar, but certain things need to be learned. So Maya, for example, has become a standard in the industry. So to learn Maya is definitely a good thing to have. But there are just a handful of programs, to be honest. So ZBrush is a no-brainer, and then you have Substance Painter. That's for games. Mari is for film, but even Substance Painter is being used in film now. The question is not when people ask this kind of questions, and they're just starting their junior level or just beginners, complete beginners. The reason why they I think a lot of I would say all of those questions, if they come from somebody who's just new, is because they think that if they learn those tools, they will be just as that person that they're asking these questions from. So they think that learning the tools will allow them to be that person. It's not about how to use the tool, it's about them being that kind of person. So it's again, I think personally, it's very psychological when people ask this kind of questions, because tools are just tools, and in terms of in terms of how effective you should be with the selection of your tools, you simply know what the tools are geared towards, like what is the industry that you're going to go to. So once you know that, you can answer this question immediately. You can simply go and search online, or go to the HR department, and you see you look for the job application, right? And you see, okay, here are the requirements. You need to know Maya, you need to know ZBrush, you need to know Painter, blah 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 blah. So this kind of answer, this kind of question can be answered immediately. It can be answered by simply doing a little bit of Googling. But again, I think the reason why people genuine reason why they ask this kind of questions, because they think that knowing the tool that the person is using, then this person is some kind of figure of authority for them. It's somebody who they look up to in some way, somebody who's master of something. It's always the case. People look up to them, so they think they can be just as good as them. Just as good as them. The problem with that is that nobody should look at anybody in that way, that somebody is better at than you at something. We are all different, we're all unique, and we have tremendous potential in us. So this kind of question is just, to me, screams insecurity. It's like, I want to be somebody else, I want to be just like that. But instead, to me, is that you need to be yourself. That's the biggest thing in this life, is that you have to be yourself. And so once you are okay with yourself, I don't think you will, even if you're going to ask this kind of question, it's going to be so different. Like, imagine two professionals, two people who have the strong characters. They've done something in their life in terms of, like, they're established professionals, and one of them asks another person, so what tools do you use? Imagine how different that question sounds, because the person is asking out of curiosity. He achieved something just as much as the other person, and he simply wants to know, so what did you do, like what did you use? But somebody who asks it in a way that the person hasn't achieved anything, just beginners, it's a completely different thing. So I would say, in terms of tools to use, it's a no-brainer. But I would simply recommend to just to be yourself, because that's you can't be anybody else, and that's the biggest thing in this life. Was it even the question?
Yeah. What is your prediction for GBS 2021? Do you think is this a game changer? What is your perspective and why?
No idea. To be honest, it's software nowadays is something that I barely pay attention to. I'm on ZBrush 2020, so at least the version is somewhat appropriate. I don't know what to expect from ZBrush. I don't think ZBrush is going to be a game changer for anything. It's I've seen the trailer for the new version. Some cloth brushes. They have some cloth dynamics. To me, that's all good, as long as you understand how things should look like beautifully. It's not about the tools. Again, it's about the reference point that you have in your head, like what is actually looks beautiful. Tools, they will allow you to create those things, but if they are ugly, like what's the point of having those tools in the first place? So they are just tools. And they're almost like shortcuts. So for example, some version of ZBrush introduced Z modeler. The only time I use ZModeler is when I need to place a loop somewhere that I forgot to put in 3ds Max. So this tool for me is not a game changer. It's just something that lets me do things a little bit faster, I would say, and that's about it. So anything that comes from ZBrush is going to be, at least to look at it exactly the same way. It's just going to be something that will make me that will allow me to things a little faster from the same hub without changing the software. So I might be wrong. Again, I have no idea what the software nowadays, what they want, what they're going for. To me, everything is going into a place where things become as automated as possible. So to me, probably the biggest player in this whole game is Epic Games. I think they can create something absolutely spectacular. But from ZBrush, I don't know if they're going to introduce some new tools. Okay, that's good. If they're going to be a new standard in the industry, that's fine.
So, are we on live?
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Hey.
We're live, right?
Yeah.
So, sorry guys for the interruption.
Sorry about this, guys. Something about my connection has been doing
Hi.
this thing lately.
We're so
live,
sorry
right?
for that.
Yeah.
So let's move forward. What is your advice for every artist in this rapidly growing, evolving, and also in this competitive time?
My advice.
Yes.
Okay. My advice is to develop yourself. Develop yourself not just from the point of view of artistic skills, and not in terms of how professional you are, how good you are as an artist. I think it's just as important as to develop yourself. I don't even want to use this term develop yourself. It's just to know yourself, to understand yourself. So if you cannot handle a tough situation, it doesn't really matter just how professional you are, just how amazing of an artist you are. It doesn't simply matter, because you need to deal with some things. They can be related to your profession, it can be related to your work, it can be related to something personal. It doesn't really matter. If you can break immediately, you will have a hard time finding a job, you will have a hard time securing a job. So I would say, even though it might sound very cheesy, it might sound not something that people don't want to hear, but the personal skills, I would say, not even skills, but just the understanding of how you function, like what makes you tick, what makes you drive, how do you deal with stress, what does stress mean to you, how do you what's your attitude towards other things, like all of this is really important. I mean, nowadays the situation is pretty unstable in the world. Things happen. We don't really know what's going to happen. Are we going to have crazy shutdowns of studios? People are going to get fired and all of these things, let go, etc., etc. So it doesn't really matter if we're professional here or not, because we always can end up being cut from the position. Just something happens within the studio, and then we simply are told to let go. Like, we can, pack your things. That's it. So in that kind of situation, there are, everything will come down to your character. Everything will come down to how you're going to deal with that situation. Are you going to bitch and moan and whine and cry and think that it's unfair, and the world is unfair, and you start to just be bitter against everything, towards everything? Or you're just going to look at it, okay, this has happened, life goes on, something that I can use this time for. This is a good opportunity for me to learn something different, some new skills. Maybe I can be a little bit better as a friend, as a husband, as a wife. Doesn't really matter. Just if you look at those things as opportunities instead of some kind of catastrophe, that changes everything. That changes absolutely everything. It's not just a kind of me talking about abstractly. It will change your psychology. It will change the way you function. If you think that a stressful situation or something that just happened is a nightmare, is some kind of, again, catastrophe, you will not be able to function. You will not have the energy to simply do something. You will not have the energy to update your portfolio. You will not have the energy to just have some fun, have some break from this thing that happened. But if you look at it as an opportunity, and you say to yourself, okay, good, fine, whatever, like, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to survive, I'm going to be, whatever happens, it's going to be okay. This kind of mood will psychologically affect you in such a way that you will be able to make to make the right choices. You will be able to make the right decisions. You will have a clearer path on how to deal with the situation. Actually a few days ago I was watching a podcast about neuroscience, and there was the guy said that when we're in stress, we literally look through the tunnel. It means that we don't see any opportunities whatsoever when we're stressed, and it makes sense from a evolutionary point of view, from neuroscience point of view. It makes sense. So if you can't handle stress, if you don't know what stress really means, it's not some kind of bad thing that happens to us. It's just it's actually our body saying that, hey, we have all these resources, we need to do something, we need to take action. That's what stress really is. But if we instead crawl under the blanket and we say, okay, how bad everything is, what we see is just a tunnel of misery, of suffering. We just see that this is something that happened to us. It's so bad that I'm not going to do anything about it. But if we can come down and just say, okay, fine, it happened, yes, that's fine. This tunnel just disappears, and now you see opportunities. They might be small opportunities, but at least it's something to grab onto, right? Just something that can move you towards to. So I would say, in this kind of world that we live in, it's been like this for forever. It's not like there were some times that they were so easy and say simple. It has been like this forever. It's so used to comfort that we think that what we need to do in terms of security is just be a crazy professional that can do these amazing artistic things. But to me, in reality, the character, what you really are, who you really are, is more important. At the end of the day, is more important than the professional things. So I would say develop yourself. Again, I don't want to use this develop thing. It's not a self-help webinar. It's not develop yourself, discover yourself. Answer the question who you are and what you are, and you'll be just fine. And have some trust in yourself, have some trust in the universe, have some belief in yourself. It's going to be fine. It's a good thing to be able to be optimistic when the bad situation really happens. It's not just to brag about it. It's literally is a like crucial point of how your life is going to be from that point on. It's going to be either downhill or it's going to be uphill, and it's all about our attitude, and it's all connected to the character that we are. So I would say that's my recommendation for everybody.
Yeah. So guys, we're end of the moment. Is if you have some questions, please comment down below.
Oh, by the way, just to say something on the light side, and not to be so so preachy about certain things. A little tip again, just to get grounded about and talk about the actual things that we do professionally. This is something that I've developed when I was working on this model. I make my models with the eyes closed off every single time, almost every single time, because when a character has just some spheres for the eyes, it doesn't really look good. So at least this way she looks more kind of natural. And what you see here are the eyebrows and some eyelashes. And I think personally this looks quite cool. Here's the trick though. If I go all the way to texture and I turn it off, she doesn't have anything. So those eyelashes, they're actually part of the texture. And so when I paint them, she looks way better this way. So it's a simple texture. That's something that I reused many times. It's something that I've created for one character and then I reuse it a lot. So I find it to be just a little trick that helps to sell the believability of a portrait. In terms of proportions, there are things that we can say about this model, but I think this kind of little cheating that is really cool. Personally, I'm very proud of this discovery.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just something.
So let's take a question from comment.
Sure.
What or who motivates you to work passionately every day? This question is from Vivek Kasture.
Oh, who? I will not tell you the name. There is one person in my life that I met some time ago. This person has absolutely nothing to do with the industry. To answer it in a different way, I don't have anybody that I look up to in terms of some kind of artists. There are people that I admire. There is Rafael Grassetti. I think he's a great guy. I think that what he does is he's just he has a good sense of what he wants from life. He has the time to be with his family. He has the time to do his profession, and he has also had the time to have a lot of fun doing what he does. Then there's Carlos Huente, who is my favorite concept artist. He's been my favorite concept artist, one of my favorite artists of all time. I don't want to say this of all time, it sounds so cheesy. He's just amazing when it comes to form. Carlos Huente is absolutely unbeatable. He's just a genius, let's put it this way. But I really like the guy because he has some very let's call it this way, he has a spine. He's not afraid to speak up when he sees something that is done unfair. He doesn't afraid to speak up when he sees how the industry is turning something that can be really cool and turning it into something that is just a money grabbing machine. So he has his own opinions, and at the same time he has very clear, I would say, vision about humanity, about what we're capable of. And there are a few paintings that they're probably the least famous of his because they're dealing with a very complicated subject, and that's why just like with everything that is complicated, you have to work for that. So those paintings to me, they indicate that he knows something that I agree with, and it's something that is kind of in the depth of his being. So those two guys I can name from the industry. Apart from that, my motivation doesn't come externally. There is a person that that drives me, that makes me want to be, I guess, better, even though it's the wrong way to put it. It's the person that makes me stay, I would say, consistent, and be stay on the path that I chose for myself. So that motivates me, but the motivation itself comes from the question, from the answer that I gave myself to the question why I do those things in the first place, why I get up in the morning and I sit in front of the computer for how many hours I need to sit in front of the computer, why do I have to, stay late in the evenings and do those things. It can come to me. I don't think it can come from some kind of inspiration. It has to come from the very clear, very precise answer to the question why we're doing this in the first place. So to me, I'm not the kind of artist who is driven by the passion for what I do, even though I enjoy doing what I do. But I'm not the kind of Michelangelo type who is obsessed with this thing. I think Rafael Grassetti is this kind of artist. He's kind of obsessed with that. So I'm definitely not that kind of artist. So I cannot rely on passion, because I don't really have the passion for what I do. So I need to be a little bit more pragmatic about it. So that's my answer.
Okay, let's take the last question and then we'll wrap up the session. So the last question is, why some artists don't improve?
Oh, wasn't it the same question as the one that why don't complete the characters? I think it goes back to that. I would say that would give the exact same answer, because objectively speaking, there is no reason for anybody not to be able to improve. I don't want to talk too much about it, but all the motivational books, all the motivational videos, they are cheaply done precisely for that. They will take something and they will tell you how people can improve and blah 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 blah, all of this stuff. To me, it's not as simple. It's not about that. To me, it's the choice that we simply make. But quite often it's completely hidden from us. We don't even realize that this is the choice we make in our life. But it boils down to me to that. Is that the reason why we don't achieve something is because we chose not to achieve something.
Yeah. So let's wrap up, and thank you everyone for joining us. Also, thank you Alexander for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Giving us such a vital knowledge. So thank you so much, Alexander, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Great, thanks guys. I hope it was I hope it was useful. I hope it was informative. I know that the platform is skills real. I did show a little bit of skill, but it was mostly me talking about something that I guess I'm quite interested in. And my recommendation is just to I hope everybody can realize that they are way more than what they think they are. You guys have tremendous potential to be amazing artists, to be incredible professionals, and just good personalities. So I wish you good luck. I wish you the best, especially in such a crazy time that we have right now. Stay sane. Don't get caught up in this fear and this madness. Have some good time with your close ones. At the end of the day, that really all that matters. And try to smile every now and then. It's definitely a good thing. It's actually it's a good thing professionally as well. Nobody likes it